Whenever the temperature drops and the air turns a little chilly, many of us start to feel like our bodies are failing. We wake up and our knees are stiff, and our fingers ache. Most of us have been taught that that feeling is about our age or our weight. And we've been led to believe that our joints are simply wearing out, like an old pair of shoes or something. But I want us to look at the biology here. If pain was about age or weight, it wouldn't flare up aggressively every time we make that, New Year's resolution to ourselves to eat healthy and get our health back. But it does, right? Why does eating clean cause a problem? The truth is, our joints may be old, but the real issue here is they're burdened by toxicity. So before we dive in, I'm not a doctor. This video is for informational purposes only and I want to provide a roots cause perspective we don't often hear when we go to that 10-minute clinic visit. Obviously, consult with your medical professional before making any major dietary changes. If you can find one that's keto friendly, that's ideal. Food has a huge impact on how medications work. Please subscribe. Today we're going to decode the arthritis lie. We've been wrestling with this for so many years and it's time to put it to rest. We're going to look at why the healthy plants we've been told to eat are actually depositing microscopic sharp crystals into our joints, causing us pain, causing us to limp, causing all kinds of problems, and then we're expected to think it's our age. Most people don't think about the chemistry of the food that they're eating. They only think about the quantity. How much do I get in? That's because we've been taught to follow the calories in, calories out. It's about how much you eat, blah, 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 right? The problem is that plants like spinach, almonds, beets, nuts, seeds, legumes, potatoes, berries, tofu, chocolate, really the list goes on, contain high levels of oxalate. And the rest of the vegetation that we eat contains moderate to low levels of oxalate. There is no way to eat plant matter without eating some level of oxalates, just to be clear. The thing is, the average person who is struggling with joint pain isn't suffering from too many calories. They're suffering from eating the wrong foods. Now, here's the biological reality. The human body does not have an internal tool, so the enzymes, to break down oxalate molecules. Once they're in there, they're in there. It's a metabolic dead end for every single one of us. So in a perfect world, our kidneys filter them out, and we would, in that case, urinate them out. But we aren't eating the proper human diet, as Dr. Berry would say. So we are getting way more oxalate because we are overeating plants and undereating animal protein. The oxalate coming in is incredibly too much. So when we flood our system with more oxalates than the kidney can handle, our bodies have to find a way to protect our blood system and therefore us from these oxalates. So it hides that toxin away. Now it stores it in our bones, our connective tissue, our joints. Basically, it's going to store it anywhere it can where it thinks it will be the least harmful to us. These are actually, so oxalates are actually microscopic little looking crystals. Like when you look at them in a microscope, they look like little crystal, but they're sharp. They're not smooth like in a ring or something. They are sharp. They are not pleasant to have in the body. They're not just sitting there harmlessly. They trigger our immune system because any foreign body in us triggers our immune system. And then we have a physical, mechanical inflammation situation that starts to happen. We aren't breaking them down, basically, is what I'm trying to help you to see, because we can't. And so our body's problem has nothing, well, it's not because we're older, right? That's not why this pain is hitting us. We are reacting to the physical presence of crystals in our joints that have built up over the course of years. This is not an overnight thing. So the way I want you to think about it, if every time you ate nuts, you threw the shells in the corner, eventually that pile in the corner would reach the middle of the room. And since we eat vegetation every single day, at some point the shells would be all over your house. and now we're limping. This is where we need to understand we've been lied to. When we report joint pain and hear from our treating professional that it's just your age, we are actually being taught to accept a symptom of toxicity as an inevitability of time. Psychologically, this is devastating to our ability to move forward. It creates a sense of learned helplessness. We actually start to believe that there's nothing we will ever be able to do ever to feel better. And I can tell you, Wellness Warrior, that that is absolutely false. I feel better today than I felt 8 years ago. And 8 years ago, I was in joint pain to the max. And today, as you can see, I'm standing making you this video and I am fine. If we believe our pain is just time passing, we stop looking for solutions. I'm so thankful that I kept looking for solutions because I was told you just have to wait for the surgery, the hip surgery that they had me lined up for. You just have to wait till it's bad enough. The pain that I was in, and it wasn't bad enough yet. If we stop looking for solutions, then we start to see ourselves as frail or worse, broken. And that mental shift is what keeps us feeling trapped. And then life doesn't look good anymore. We are not happy with our life anymore. Things start to be bad. But if we look at the data, we actually see people in their 70s with zero joint pain. Because why? Because they've been eating that healthy, species-appropriate diet. And we see people in their 25s with early onset arthritis. Why? Because a lot of our young people see the older generation and want to be healthier than them, and they are very, very, very focused on eating what? Fruits and vegetables and keeping their body as lean and clean as possible, not realizing that those fruits and vegetables are causing health problems. Age is not the real variable. The root cause is the cumulative load of these plant toxins. Today I mentioned oxalate, but I happen to also react to the solanine in nightshades. What else was I reacting to? I don't even know. These are the two that I figured out, but there are so many. Every single plant has a myriad of toxins in it that are impacting our bodies, whether you feel it yet or not. If we believe the standard narrative that it's just aging, we become passive. We accept the pills and the shots, and we keep drinking the spinach smoothies that cause our problems in the first place. We have to stop negotiating with our health by eating the foods that leave us unable to move freely. We have to be the people that question the inputs so that we can analyze the outputs and better understand what the food we are eating is actually doing in our bodies. Why does it hurt us more right now? We need to ask those questions, especially why does my body hurt in the cold? For example, let's look at that question. Physiologically, when the weather gets cold and we get colder, our blood flows more slowly in our hands and in our feet to keep our core warm. Right? This is where this is where all the important stuff lives. When that circulation slows down, the irritation from those stored like crystals in your body, they're really irritating, right? Now we feel them more. And because we feel them more and it hurts, we're in pain. But I want you to understand that because of very good marketing, many of us who started keto recently have replaced regular bread with almond flour bread, right? Because that's better for us. They've replaced pasta with spinach because that's better for us. Many people who start keto today do these replacements because they think they're doing the right thing. Marketing. Right? When I started my keto lifestyle, yes, there were a few recipes to make, but you couldn't just walk into the store and pick up all these replacements that you can today. And well, yes, people were eating more vegetation, removing the pasta and rice off their plate. So I will say that that was still true. But the marketing towards getting us to buy keto products today is out of this world. And we buy them because we think we're doing the right thing. But we're actually trading one inflammatory driver, sugar, for another inflammatory driver, oxalates and whatever other plant toxin, and we're still getting the sugar. I want us to understand that psychologically, this is why so many people quit keto. They feel like they're failing because they tried harder, and sometimes they end up hurting more. Their body is reacting more, and they don't get it. Those processed, whether it's a processed something I buy, so a keto treat I buy, or I buy the processed flours and xanthan gum and all these things to turn around and make a processed, a homemade something, they're not realizing that that's still the same plants with all the same toxins concentrated down, getting into our body and causing harm. I need us to understand that this is not a failure of willpower. It is actually a failure, and it's not a failure of your body. It's a failure of information. If we don't know something, how can we use that information appropriately? And what we don't know is that we cannot moderate a physical, sharp crystal that our bodies cannot evacuate from our system because it doesn't have the enzymes to break it down. To heal, we have to stop the intake and allow our bodies to begin the process of clearing out these crystals. Transitioning away from these unhealthy plants is difficult because of the years of programming that tell us that we need variety or we'll miss, whether it be micronutrients or vitamins or whatever, that we're going to miss stuff. This programming is loud. It's this screaming internal dialogue in our heads. And the voice is usually saying some version of, but I need fiber, or I need antioxidants. Wellness warrior, what we don't understand is that we are constipated because we eat plants. And our body makes the antioxidants that we need. Our body has been making antioxidants since we were little children. We don't need to eat plants for antioxidants. This food noise is the result of decades of being told that plants are the only way to be healthy, which is so not true. Before we started using crops and we've been on this planet for so long. When we look at how long farming has been a story, it doesn't compare. But I also want to point out that if we look at this from a bioavailability perspective, which means when we eat vegetation, how much of the actual nutrients can we get out of it versus if we eat animal protein?
When you look at a protein, there are two factors. One is what's the composition of those 9 essential amino acids, and the other is what's its bioavailability? How well do we digest it and absorb it? With animal proteins, the digestion absorption is pretty close to 100. It's usually 95% or higher. For plant proteins, though, it gets into, you need to realize that in a plant, the protein is there for the purpose of the plant. And so a lot of it is attached to fibers, it's to structures. Plants have proteins attached to the leaves and the stems and the roots and the flowers and the seeds. And when you start to isolate that, if you just eat it in a raw form, it may only be 60-70% available because we can't digest the fiber. So if you look at wheat bran on a cereal box and say it was a wheat flour, and it says there's 4 grams per serving, there's actually less than 2 that you can actually absorb.
The minerals in those plants are often chemically stuck to those oxalates. This means we aren't even absorbing the good stuff. We're getting the toxin without the benefit of the minerals that we so desperately want. When we move towards animal fats and proteins, we're finally giving our bodies the raw materials. So the collagen and the protein that it can then use to rebuild, repair us. Because we are animals, and I know everybody hates when I say that, but we are, and we need animal protein, animal fat, we need to eat animals, basically what I'm trying to say, in order for our bodies to repair the damage that they live every day. And you will live damage every single day, no matter what you eat, because that's the way the body functions. But when you eat the right stuff, your body can actually repair you. When we eat garbage, our body struggles to repair us. It can't do the job if we're giving it fake food. And as far as our body's concerned, plants are things that you eat when you didn't catch an animal, period. If we want our body to be able to get those crystals out of us, we really do need to work on silencing the voice that says that we need everything in moderation. Another one of those, that bit of food noise that's happening in our head. We need to realize that some things simply aren't food and therefore don't belong in the human body. So here is how we pivot away from the pain and reclaim our metabolic health. We have to stop the accumulation of oxalates and other toxins. And the way that we do that is we immediately remove the highest oxalate offenders. That means that you stop eating spinach, almonds, beets, potatoes, kale, chocolate. As a matter of fact, it's easier for me to tell you what to eat than it would be for me to list all the things that you eat right now that are keeping you suffering. If you eat meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and dairy, those things are oxalate free. Now, if you tolerate dairy, that's great, because it has the added benefit of supporting the cleanup of oxalate, because the calcium in dairy can bind to the oxalate and help it to pull it out of your blood, and you will eliminate it out the other end. I also want you guys to prioritize meat. This is the most species appropriate thing that you can eat. It's low in toxins all round, and it fuels us amazingly. It gives our kidneys a break, and our joints are going to be built, our entire body will be built better. The repair process will happen. We aren't victims of time. I hope I've said that enough times for it to really stick in your head. We are not victims of time. We are biological systems that are currently overloaded with oxalates and other plant toxins. I know how many of you are going to be worried about cutting out the plants, the healthy vegetables and all this stuff, but they're not healthy. And you might be afraid, though, that as we are told over and over, that if you don't eat these things, you're going to have heart disease and you're going to be missing vitamins and all these things are going to go wrong. I have already made a video about this that you can watch this right here. If you want an understanding of the long-term safety of low toxin animal-based approach, this is the video to watch. Does carnivore really cause health problems? In that video, I dismantle the myths that keep us stuck in the cycle of chronic inflammation. So click on the link. I'll meet you over there.